My lords, ladies and gentlemen, hello, welcome back once again to Transport Fever 2. Starting out this episode with train number 93 in view, just winding its way towards Donald at the moment, as we can see here. And the reason we're starting with this train is we had a naming suggestion for one of our mountain trains, and after a bit of thought and a bit of discussion as well, this is the one I have gone for. And the name of this train is now going to be Mountain Dominator. Quite an imposing sort of name that, I quite like that one. And what we've also decided is that the Mountain Dominator is going to have its own special livery. So what we're going to do now, going to manage vehicle, Mountain Dominator, and this is going to be a very bold, very striking black. So just have a look at it now as it exits this mini tunnel here. Obviously it needs a touch of rust remover applying, but I think it looks quite a good train, and I think the black colour does suit the name Mountain Dominator. So, and obviously because it's towing coal, the black colour also works on 2 levels. So thank you very much for that naming suggestion, much appreciated. As always, any others, please let me know in the comments down below, and I'll do my best to accommodate those requests. And in that vein, another name that was suggested was one of our trains, and I think we'll pick on this one here since it's in view. Train 16 is going to have a rename as well. Now, if you remember in the previous episode, which was the 200 subscriber hour-long, well, hour and change, but yes, the feature-length episode, if you will, we swapped our intercity mainline trains for the modded Royal Hudson locomotives, which are provided on the workshop by the very talented Steve M4. And given that we've got these new trains, I think this is going to be a good train to use to incorporate the new or the other naming suggestion that I received. And that is to call it the pronghorn, which is a native, I think they're almost like a deer or something, I haven't checked, but the name does sound somewhat familiar. But either way, it's a native species to this part of the world. And it's always nice to have that little nod to the, the local area, if you will, whether that be famous sons or daughters of the region, or famous regions, if that makes sense, or obviously the local wildlife that they are famous for. And as I said, the pronghorn is something I have heard of before. I do think it's a deer. I'll probably check. It's probably not a deer at all. It's probably a cat or something, and I just made myself look like an idiot, but there we go. But yes, that name was suggested, and it's one that is quite fitting for the region, so we'd be silly not to utilise that. Just noticed how much Calgary is starting to grow, especially in terms of its skyline. As we can see, central Calgary here now has quite a lot of high-rises, as do the 4 suburbs surrounding Calgary, and even the little towns a bit further afield, such as Chestermere there, we can see has quite an imposing skyline starting to develop, as well as some of these other towns out here as well, Priddis and the likes. So with those 2 naming changes put into effect, as I said, thank you very much for all of the naming suggestions that come through. As always, feel free to let me know if you have any others. But yes, now that that's taken care of, I think what we'll do today is we'll continue this line that we started in the previous episode, which I think we called it the Col Hadfield line. Again, as I said in that episode, I am open to suggestions for changing that. If anybody can think of a more suitable or a more appropriate name, then please let me know. That's obviously not to diminish the achievements of Colonel Chris Hadfield. Obviously, I'm sure we're all aware, a very famous astronaut who recorded that cover version of Major Tom, or a Space Oddity I suppose is the correct title of the song, while he was aboard the ISS a few years ago. But enough about that. Yes, we need to progress this line a little bit further. And the next natural stop is New Denver, over in this little valley here. As we can see, the terrain isn't very conducive for a rail line. My initial thoughts are most of it is probably going to be handled through a tunnel, but we're going to follow this valley whether we're subsurface or not, but follow the lay of the land in this valley, and then we'll have the station here. New Denver has started expanding up in this direction, so getting the road connection set up wouldn't be too much of a difficult task. And the other added benefit is it leaves us in a prime position to continue the Col Hadfield line off out of New Denver, along the bottom edge of the map here, and into Caslow, or Caslow. I'm not sure on the pronunciation there. If anyone does know, please let me know in the comments, Caslow or Caslow. And then onwards from there, we can hook into Argenta, and then these two towns can be connected, and Argenta can be a little hub where the two passenger lines meet. 'Cause at the moment we have this intercity shuttle line that runs down here, so we could modify this into its own proper full line rather than just a shuttle service. And as discussed, Argenta could be something of an interchange between the two lines. So to get started then, the most, or what I find to be the best way to start off is to put down your train station, because then you know where you're aiming for with your line, and that's all ready to go. So if we have the station for New Denver up there, we can quickly add in the road connection outside of the station, although I'm not happy with how that has formed. So what we're going to do is just quickly smooth off or level off a bit of the terrain just outside of the station there to give us a nice flat area to work with, and that gives us a much smarter connection there into the station from the road. So from here on out, we'll just very simply connect into the existing road network for New Denver. I'm struggling to see any easy way to connect in from this way, so I think we'll just have it like so, but we will add in a bit of a turnaround. If you just stretch it out just a little bit further, and then have a loop just here like that, and then we can nice and quickly smooth some of this off here to make it nice and flat and level. As you can see, we've gone for the one platform at this station. It's only a small town, and I don't think it's a town I'm going to encourage much growth within, so having a small station makes sense. I think I've said it before, it is nice almost every now and then just to have the small local rural stations rather than having every city turn into some sort of metropolis, which isn't the way it works in reality. So now, before we start laying the tracks, I just want to get a feel for our track heights. So over here we're at, was it 110? Around about 110. And then over in New Denver it's at 142, so we don't want our line coming this way to rise up. Likewise, we don't want our line coming from this way to drop down. So let's just get rid of that menu screen there. And as I said, we're going to head for this valley, even if we do remain inside a tunnel for the majority of this trip, this line here. So we'll parallel it all the way out. And then I think what we'll do, if we have that there... Oh, we have a suspension sort of, oh well, I suppose it's not a box bridge, but we have a new style bridge. So we'll go for those because I think they're a little bit faster. Not sure if that's a mod I've recently activated or not. I really should know, but never mind. But we'll have those bridges there because they seem to... Are they a little bit faster? Let's compare. No, they're the same. It's just different style, that's all. And then now that we are out in the open again, we can check what height we're at here. 171, so we've gone up far too far because I believe over here we're at 140. Yes, so we have risen up a little bit too high. So what we shall do is we shall delete this. We'll try and find a spot along this line where we're roughly 140. Perhaps just before this bridge here, let's see. Nope, still too high. Perhaps somewhere in this tunnel. I'm going to go ahead and guess that around about here we should be at about 140. Unfortunately, there's no way to tell while you're inside the tunnel. It just gives you the terrain height of the landscape rather than your track. So if we just keep this level, this is an absolutely almighty tunnel that's being constructed here, but that's to be expected. And if we come around here, I still think we're probably high up here. Let's verify this here. 151. Okay, I can live with that. We've only got to lose the 10 meters, which isn't too arduous. Do we have a bridge there? Was that a bridge? No, it's just normal track. Okay. But we have been using slow speed track, which I didn't mean to do, so I'll go through afterwards and just upgrade it with the upgrade tool. And then if we drop that in directly like so, I mean, that's fair enough. Again, a lot of tunnel work out here, but given the terrain that we are working with, I don't think that's too unexpected. Okay, so I've connected into the wrong lines here, so just rework this just a touch. So it's got a little shimmy there, but that's fine. And then what we want to do is upgrade to high speed track all along here, where I'd accidentally clicked the regular speed tracks, which we don't want here. There we go, it's F in high speed, and it should still be electrified. Yes, it is, because it's all in blue. So that gives us a connection now over to New Denver. What do we have here? We have the 4884 Big Boy and the Douglas DC-4. The Big Boy could be a train that we use in the Rocky Mountains. I'm thinking perhaps on the iron ore freight line that we have supplying Donald over here. Is that one of them? No, that's our coal train. At the moment, as we can tell, they are running the electric locomotives. So we'd have to do a quick comparison. What's this one here? That's steel. I mean, the steel train is a candidate. And what's this line here? Here we go, iron ore. So before we do any more work on our passenger line, let's just have a quick check here and see what difference it would be with the Big Boy. So it's more powerful, as we can see, 4,500 kilowatts. The speed, well, that's been dictated by our consist rather than our locomotive, but it does have a top speed of 81 miles an hour, which is quite impressive. In terms of its in terms of its yearly cost, just under 3 million. We'll call that 2.9. The MILW, so it is almost £1 million a year more expensive in terms of maintenance. I think we're gonna go ahead and go with it anyway. I mean, the speed, oh well, the power increase is very nice, especially for a heavy duty train that's running on very, very challenging in lines, if you know what I mean, because of the terrain. But here's the big boy now. I think we'll have a quick look at this, and there goes the coal train. That is an absolute beast. A true monster of a locomotive. It's absolutely massive. Look at the length of that. That is one big boiler. In fact, it even makes the consist look that little bit smaller. And this is a very long consist. I like that. I like that a lot. Anyway, getting sidetracked there. Where were we? Over in New Denver. Here we are. Okay, so we now have the line over there. We're going to need some signals along the way, obviously. I haven't put a diamond here because what we'll do, we'll have one platform inbound and one outbound. But we do want to put a couple of signals just by the station, and then we'll have a small handful stationed along the tunnel just to provide a bit of blocking to avoid our trains sitting on top of one another and providing that more natural spacing for our lines, just like that. And then we want one there, and we'll have a clearing signal just there. Now, before we extend the line out here, we are going to need to get a public transport system set up for New Denver, just so our residents can actually access the station itself. Now, given that New Denver is a town, as discussed, that I'm probably going to keep relatively small in terms of its size, I don't think we're going to go for a full bus service out here. We're just going to have a simple loop that goes around the town before heading back towards the station, like that. So just a single solitary bus service, and as we said, it's going to go around the town before coming back the way to the station. Yep, that will work for me. So we'll just quickly name this as Bus Service New Denver, and I'll even keep the 01 out of this because it's the only one here anyway. So Bus Service for New Denver. We need a depot. We'll have the depot on the outskirts of town here where it shouldn't impact our traffic. And then we can go twin coach. And I think just 4 is going to be enough. That might even be too many. What's the colour here? I think it's something like that. There we go. So now the passengers can get in and out of the station and in and out of the town to the station and vice versa. So we can now modify the Col Hadfield line. So after Nakusp, you're heading to New Denver. And then you want to head back like so. And then you're going to Cherryville and repeating the process. Very, very simple. No issues there. Okay, so for the Col Hadfield line, we'll not do anything else to it this episode. What we will do, however, is hop over to our airport here at Enderby. And we'll just have a quick look at replacing our DC3s with a DC4. An extra 20 miles per hour speed and an extra 5 passenger capacity. But as we can see, it's also an extra, well, just under 200,000 per year. I think we'll do it anyway. So there's our new aircraft. What the... I think when I changed it, I confused it because it seemed to land and then take off again and then just plough straight through these trees here. And in fact, that's probably a fair old point. You wouldn't have the trees on the end of a runway like that. So let's just use the eraser tool to get rid of some of this foliage. to clear a nice empty space for the aircraft to make their way in and out of this airport at Enderby. As we can see, the line is now very profitable, which is really, really reassuring. It means we must be doing something right somewhere along the line, so that's good to see. How's this freight line doing up here? We have a very large station up here in Cherryville. I don't remember the reason why we put such a large one in. I'll have to rewatch the previous episode for that. But it seems to be doing okay. Obviously we're not carrying a full load of grain here, as we can see, which is a bit of a shame. And how are you doing in terms of your bread capacity? Again, not nearly a full load at all. Is that just because there's not much demand here in Lumby? Well, you're not even meeting half demand, are you? So I'm going to guess the issue is production at the farm. You're producing 400, or we're shipping 400 out of potential 800. At least that's my understanding of that. I always get confused with those screens. Do we think we could prompt more production if we had more trucks on this line? I mean, they are fairly, they are fairly frequent. Maybe it's just something that will materialize over time, but what we could do is we could have a line coming this way, bringing in some bread into Galena and Shelter Bay and Nakusp, and that will definitely trigger some more production. Absolutely it will. And if we had our station somewhere around here, we could also start bringing some grain back as well if needed. We could activate this Galena Bay farm if needed. We might not need to do that, but at least we have the option to do that. Is there anywhere else along this river that could do with bread? No. Yes. No. That's just a bread factory in Revelstoke. It's not a trade good that is being called for. So it's just one drop off here and one here. Okay. So let's put down a quick freight station here for Shelter and Galena Bay. This will handle both. There's no point in having separate ones. Pretty much one town, to be honest, that spans the... Was it the Columbia River, this river? I believe it is. So let's quickly put down this freight cargo station. We want bread to be dropped off, potentially machinery as well, so that's 2 platforms. We might need a third for the wheat. And that's also machinery as well. Don't think we'd need these logs. And we could also drop in these and the tools and the bricks here as well. So for now, I'm going to call it a 5 platform station. Again, we need to connect it with a road system. And we're also going to need a truck station out here as well for the onward delivery of the goods into the various towns, but we'll do that in a moment. What we'll do to start with is just get the tracks connected in. Let's have a look here. So we're going to have to climb up, but we could come this way before we climb up here. And then connect in around here somewhere. Although saying that, I think we'd be better served. In fact, no. No, scrap that. I was going to say we'd be better served having these lines separate, but then we'd have to put a new depot down. In fact, we will have them separate, but what we'll do, we'll have a crossing point between the 2 lines here. So any trains we purchase at our depot here can use a crossover to get onto the freight line. And that just means the freight and passenger services, they're not going to be holding one another up, which is always important. So if we do that, and then, as discussed, have a simple crossover here, that allows our trains to get onto the new freight line, and at this point the freight line will break away. What's the best way to tackle this? In fact, we'll not break away yet, we'll have it run alongside a little more. We've unlocked the Studebaker trucks. I think we'll look at them in the next episode rather than this episode. Okay, I'm struggling with this bridge here. If we go there and then... there we go, that's better. Not sure what the issue was there, but we've managed to adapt. And then we'll go as far as this second mini bridge here. And then I think at this point, this is where we're going to break away. And we certainly don't want to be climbing up. If anything, you want to be staying level at worst. At best, you want to actually be coming down a bit, because we want you at this sort of terrain height here. In fact, you don't want to be... yes, you do want to be coming down, so let's encourage you to do that here. Just come around a little more. Still got a good speed there. 1, 2, 3. And we should now be able to... yep, we can come down to the appropriate terrain height to connect into the station. Speed isn't great, but these are freight trains, so they're going to be limited by the wagon speed anyway, so that's largely relevant. And then we can connect in like that. And I think while we're here, we'll just very quickly get all of this set up as well. And to ensure that our trains have somewhere to park up while they're waiting to go on platform, we'll extend this out reasonably far, so any waiting trains don't block any of the others that are going onto any of the other platforms. Like that. And in fact, that wants to be double tracked for this bit as well. And at this point, we'll start bringing it all together. Just before the bridge there. And I don't think there's nothing there, so we're going to have to take this back just a little to get these over as well. That will do. Everything looks fine by my eye. And then on the bridge, unfortunately, is where we're going to have to put our crossover. And it looks like we can do it without too many hiccups. Clearly, I was a bit premature there. We can't do it there. Let's try... in fact, let's try it again. No, it's not going to have it, unfortunately. It's saying there's a collision. I tell you what, let's just get rid of the bridge and have it as raised earthworks. That way we know we're going to be able to do the diamond without any issues. So, earthworks. There we go. Crossover. Working perfectly now. Excellent. That will work for me for now, without any issues. What we need to do at this point is head over here. So I think we'll head into the mountainside a little. Don't want to be climbing up too high at this point. We will check the terrain if we need to. We have a stone bridge here, 56 miles an hour, which is a little unfortunate, so let's just change that. And in fact, we'll change it to earthworks, which it's done anyway. Much better. Okay, so I think we might be at a decent enough height here. Let's just... Yes, I know that's a crazy bridge. It's not going to stay that way. Oh my lord, that is extremely high. But I like that. You know, I like that quite a lot. Similarly over here. Do you know what? It's brute force almost. But I quite like it. I'm gonna go for that. We'll be a bit extravagant with this. I realise this probably isn't to everybody's cup of tea, and I do apologise for that, but I like it. There we go. And again, we don't have the sidings as such, or the waiting area here. It's all just directly connected in. So we're going to have to be careful of how many trains we have out here. Just so we don't have too many trains waiting on the bridge to get into the station and back out. But we'll see how we get on. But yeah, the more I look at it, the more I really do like that. I think that looks very, very impressive. And in fact, if we just come away a bit, yes, even from a distance, I think that looks really good. I wouldn't even say it's a blot on the landscape. I think that actually adds to the scenery. Yes, very nice. Very, very nice. Okay, so let's put a few quick signals in along the way. Nice and quick and easy. So we'll have a clearing signal there. In fact, we'll have another stopping signal there as well. And then we just want, for now, just a handful of blocks. We can increase the blocking later on as this line picks up in line usage, frequency, busyness, volume, traffic volume. That's the one. If I just keep saying words, eventually I'll stumble on the correct words. At least that seems to be the way I do it. That will double up that block there. We'll also mirror this one here. We'll have one there. And then we're coming out towards Galena and Shelter Bay now. There's the diamond. Clearing signal there. Yep, that'll do. I've just realised that's not going to work as a parking area because it just won't. So, but I'll sort that out later. It'll do for now. We're not going to have too many trains running down here anyway. It's just in an effort to kick up a bit of production over here and over here. Okay, so the last thing we want down here is a truck station. 30 meters. We'll go fairly big out here. Can I squeeze that? It doesn't look... it's a bit wonky, the road, but I'm going to go for that. I quite like it. And then, for now, we'll do our first one, which is going to be into Shelter Bay. Dropping off, let's say, there. Yeah. Not with a bus stop, though. That's not going to work. That's better. And there we go. Obviously, we need to set up the delivery lines and the train lines. But we can do that in the future because, as I said, I'm going to want to rework this so we can have a proper sidings for our trains to wait in without interrupting or blocking off any other trains who are waiting to access one of the other platforms out here. Yes, I didn't think that through at all. That's not going to work for what I want it to do. That's fine. As I said, I'll just rework it off camera, make it work properly, and then we'll get the line set up in the next episode. But for now, I think we will call it a day here. Obviously this episode's quite a bit shorter than the previous one. And what we'll do, this has been another request, is we'll actually hop on board a train, and I think we'll use one of our Rocky Mountain Railway trains for this, because these are going to offer us, I think, some of the best scenery on the map. And I'll leave you with a little train ride as we say our goodbyes, and I'll let it have a little run out through the Rocky Mountains, just as a little way to sign off. But for now, from me, all that remains for me to say is, as always, take very good care of yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. It's ta-ta for now.